Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Soul CEO podcast. My name is Rachel Picard. I am your host, and this is episode 43. And today's training is fire. And it's not fire because of me, but because of the content. The content is rich, it's true, it's needed, and it's all about how to become an exceptional conversationalist. And this is very key if you want to become a leader, because good leaders are great listeners. They're great question askers. They know how to dig deep. They know how to use things like silence to allow people to kind of, convey their message, their passions, their motivations, their objections, their concerns. This training is going to be helpful. So grab a pen, grab your journal. Let's take some notes. But before we dive in, I want to shout out to all of my subscribers out there. You guys are blowing my mind. We're over 10,000 downloads now and quickly growing. And I want to give a little recognition to Be Positive 413. This is Jesse Dale. He said, what value? 5 stars. He says, absolutely amazing value. You can tell Rachel has put in the time and work to have more than influence. She's here to make an impact. Jesse, you're absolutely correct. It is all about making a difference in people's lives while we're here. So I think, guys, for all of you, if you are listening, you want to connect better, you want to have more influence, you want people drawn to you, even if you want to get a date or a second date or a third date or an engagement. You'll hear a lot of dating reference in this training. This is the training for you. So let's dive into episode 43, how to become an exceptional conversationalist. And so today, what I really want to talk to you guys about is how to become, or to begin the journey of becoming like an exceptional conversationalist. And really, when we think about in network marketing, let's get clear on what we're doing. Let's get absolutely 100% clear in the fact that we are building a business of people. And it seems kind of crazy, like we can get so ultra focused on the comp plan or so ultra focused on the numbers or, in our business, the product, the science, the studies, the ingredients, the comparison, the data, right? That we sometimes lose track of what it is that we're really truly doing, which is connecting with people and solving problems. And if you guys are taking notes, as an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, you're solving problems. And the better you become at a problem solver, the more that you're going to have opportunities come your way to not only attract people into your business on the products, but to attract other business leaders with you and distributors, but also to move people and influence them, or as I like to say, soulfully persuade them to making a better decision for their life. And to take action, to buy a product, to prospect, to launch their business, to relaunch their business, to launch an event. So I find, and I think it goes back to our educational system. I'm not going to make a total gross, there's a lot of Australians on this call. I'm not going to make a gross judgment to the Australian school system. Cannot just talk about USA right now. We are failing. And we're not just failing on math or science or arithmetic, but on day-to-day human skills. Like the stuff that the average 18 and 19-year-old really needs to know post-high school is, I don't need to know what a dangling participle is. Unless I'm going to be a grammar teacher, I don't think that's something, unless you're going to go into like high-end, maybe would be engineering or mathematicians, like trigonometry, it's noble if that's your direction in life. But for the grand majority of the population, what are they going to do every single day? They're going to be led by people. They're going to be leading people. They're going to be discussing with, maybe interfacing with customers over the phone or in person. And it's not even just customer service agents. If you are in any sort of hospitality, if you're in any sort of sales, if you're in any sort of management or leadership, or even ministry, our ability to talk and communicate and connect with people will determine how far we can go with them. I did some research through a psychology kind of review, and it was through Harvard. And it was saying that most people that leave a person-to-person interaction, whether it be a first date, whether it be an interview, whether it be any sort of like dialogue, whatever, if it did not go well, do you want to know that over 70% of those people that say, yeah, didn't go well, first date, not going to have a second one, whatever it is, they say it's because the other person didn't ask enough questions. So I want you guys today to start to flip the switch on becoming a great question asker. A great question asker. I want you to be like the sleuth. I want you to be the private detective, the private investigator, and not in an interrogative way. This is going to be some skill involved. Like you're going to have to learn the art of, ooh, man, Mark, when is it like too much that I'm like doon, hitting you, and being able to sense and have awareness, ooh, I need to soften up. I need to maybe pace out the questions. I need to have a pause, right? This is the art and science of prospecting and team building and relationship, management. I can give you all the questions. I can give you the scripts, but there's a certain amount of, flow. There's a certain amount of just experience that you're going to have of like, okay, in what tempo does this work? But I want you to become a great question asker. A great question asker. And Rob Sphiri recently said in one of our masterminds, we flew him in to Elite Academy. We had a virtual, and we had 14 leaders in a room, and I surprised them all, and I flew in Rob Sphiri, one of the premier coaches in the industry, and he trained for 3.5 hours and then had dinner with us. It was just amazing. And one of the quotes that he just kind of, just rolled out of his mouth, and I'm not even sure he was thinking what he was thinking. I'm sure he was thinking what he was saying, but it was just one of those naturally things, and we didn't expound on it a ton. But he says, the answer is always in the questions. The answer to anything is in more questions, better questions, digging deeper in the questions. So the first thing that we got to do if we're going to be an excellent communicator, an excellent network marketer, to be able to attract more people into our business is to ask better questions. Not just more, but to ask better questions. One of the simple flips that you can do is start to change your language from asking solely or from predominantly yes or no questions to open-ended. So what's a yes or no question? It sounds like, would you? Would you want to go on a date with me? Would you watch a video? Would you, you think about like Sandy when you're talking with somebody, like, hey, would you want to go take a little tour of the garden? Would you? Or should I? Should we? That's like a yes or no. Is this, are you, am I, do you think, right? Do you think we should Do you think it'll go like that? Do you think this Panda Express pandemic's going to last forever, right? It's a yes or no question. Can I? May I? Yes or no? To flip to more open-ended, I'm going to give you your open-ended, 5 of them. What, where, when, how, why? What, where, when, how, why? So instead of saying like, hey, do you want to go on a date with me? You'd be like, where would you want to go on a date with me? I don't know why I'm on this like dating kick, right? Like just like this random scroll moment, right? But it's everyday life. Hey, do you, would you be able to watch this video if I send it to you right now? You could say, hey, when can you watch this video? When is the soonest you'd be able to carve out 20 minutes to take a look at this overview? It's the open-ended questions. Now, often, how many of you guys are using attraction marketing online? Raise your hand if you're doing posts online. Candace, you're doing some posts. Christine, you are as well. Sandy, I'm sure Melinda, you are as well. Mary, you doing any kind of posts online on Facebook? Okay, good. So we have these posts and then we get comments. We get likes. We get people popping in the DM. They're commenting back on our stories. They're like, hey, what's this little pill about? Or what's this product that you're sharing? Tell me a little bit more about the hair care. And one of my favorite questions is, what made you reach out? It's open-ended. Not, do you want more info? I mean, yeah, you're going to probably get some yeses there. It's what made you reach out? I want to start to investigate. I want them to open up to me. What made you comment on my status today? What's going on in your life now that you're asking about a business? And in ours, what's going on in your health? Oh man, has that opened up a ton? Has that opened up a ton? Just asking hey, what's going on in your health? What have you tried in the past? What's worked for you? What hasn't? Why do you think that is? How far can you dig down? I want you guys to challenge yourself this week in your communications to be like, just when you think you know what they're saying and why they're saying it and their motivation to ask a few more questions, to go one more deep and find more information. Okay? What, where, when, how, and why. The second part of this, so ask better questions. Number 2 is to dig deeper. And you might take this to like, what makes you say that? Why did you think that? Tell me more about that. After somebody's seen the information about our business, we often ask, what did you like best about what you saw? What did you like best about what you saw? What did you like best about the video? What did you like best about the presentation? What did you like best about Charlotte's overview? What did you like about that product testimonial? Tell me more about that. Was there anything else? What else did you like? What else did you like? It's amazing. We'll ask it one time. This is so amateur. What do you like best? It's like, I love the fact that it seems like it could make me feel better. Great, awesome. What did you like about that? Or what do you mean by that? Or what really stood out to you? How would that, if you were feeling better today, how would that impact your life? And then they tell you, hey, what else? So beyond feeling better, what else stood out to you? So you grab more, you dig deeper. Consider yourself, this is like ping pong, table tennis, back and forth. I want you guys to be getting as many balls in your court. Like you keep hitting them back, like, all right, keep giving to me, keep giving, like keep going. Because the more arsenal of reasons, of data, of information, of motivation, you then can use that to soulfully persuade them to a decision. We often don't move our prospects forward, whether they're dating or in business, because we just don't know enough. And why is it the fact that we don't dig deeper? Little caveat. Let's go over to the right of your piece of paper. Let's talk about why most network marketers or people in general just don't dig deeper. The first one is they're egocentric. I actually experienced this recently. I was in a conversation with several people, and there's a couple of women involved, and you had louder voices. You had more braggadocious people in the room. Then you had more weaker voices, silent, more introverted, more reserved, or maybe like a silent confidence. Like they didn't have to assert themselves so much. And it was really interesting watching the dynamics of all these people, all these women. And there was one woman that you could tell, based on just egocentricness, she was so ready to enter into the conversation, not with more questions, not in the table tennis, not in the back and forth, but to assert her wisdom. She was ready and eager to impress others with her thoughts and her ideas. You know, if the conversation about like fitness came out, she was the first one saying why this specific fitness regimen was the only regimen that works and it's the best one. And I read all these things and I watched all this stuff on it and there's this guy on YouTube and I binged his stuff and you all need to do just that. It was very egocentric. And it was very unbecoming. It was very unbecoming. Now, that doesn't mean that when you're in a group, and let's say you have a bunch of mentees and a mentor. Mentees and a mentor. If a good mentor will have the mentees talking a lot, right? So you're a leader, right? Hello, my little leaders. You have your little team. It doesn't mean that you're never going to talk. It doesn't mean that you're going to just silence yourself or go totally mute, but you know to dig deep. I truly believe that there should be this balance. Like if you're in a room and everyone's making $1,000 a month and then there's somebody making 10, who should be sharing the most ideas? I mean, it just naturally not saying that there's not valuable stuff from the people making 1,000, but there's somebody making 10,000 a month. Let's give them the mic. Pass it over to them. What are you doing? I don't want to hear with you. You're struggling right now. Tell me why you're crushing it. Tell me why you're crushing it. Egocentric. One of my mentors tells a great story. She was brand new in her business and she had failed forward for 6 months, made nothing. And then she finally caught a big break. She started running ads. This was 30, 40 years ago, running little ads. And so she'd run ads and like had a payphone booth, and she's a very famous trainer. And she tells this story that she started to have modest success. And I don't know what she made, like a couple $1,000s. And she was invited into a boardroom, and she's like, I don't know how I got in this meeting. I shouldn't have been there. It was all of these like multi six-figure monthly earners, right? So like the person at the head of the room is making over like 100,000 a month. And this was like 30, 40 years ago, right? So imagine the income, like just comparativeness. She's making a couple grand a month. She's sitting at this table. She's listening. She's young. She's in her 20s. And she decides at one point to pipe up and then to interrupt. And she's like, hey, I have an idea. And somebody that was, I think, in her upline, the guy making millions of dollars a year, was so like flabbergasted. He's like, he pounded his hand on the table. He's like, what? I have an idea. And he goes, who are you? Well, I'm Danny, she says. And he goes, how long have you been here? She's like, I just got started. How much are you making? He asked. She's like, well, I'm just really getting going. And he goes, if I listen to you, I'm going to be making 0 per month. If you listen to me, you'll make 100 grand a month. Sit down, shut up, and pay attention. I was like, okay, that's not our culture in Team Heart at all, not even a little bit. But I was like, wow, okay, that's just a little bit of a lesson to learn. Like, you got to know who you're around. Like, if I'm around, like, I'll tell you guys, I sat in a lunch once with John C. Maxwell, and everyone was wasting time with all these dumb questions, like about football and where he's traveled. I don't know if they're trying to build rapport with him or whatever. I'm like, would you all just shut up? I am sitting at the throne of John Maxwell, and all I want to do is hear him talk. I hear you talk all the time. Let him speak, right? But seriously, what spawned Danny to say, I have an idea? It was ego. She was eager to impress others with her thoughts and her ideas. That's why we don't ask questions. She shouldn't have been asserting her ideas. She should have been asking questions in that meeting. I think another reason that people don't dig deeper is that they're apathetic. They just don't care. They just don't care. And I will be brutally honest with you guys. It's going to be so hard to expand your influence and leadership if you don't care. Now, how do you go from not caring, let's talk about people, like, oh, I don't really care about people, to caring about people? This is why I subscribe to the fact that we've got to do spiritual practices. Now, I'm not asserting any sort of religion or faith on you guys, but there's some sort of spiritual practice that humbles us, that allows us to think bigger, and that our purpose is beyond us. Write this down. It's not about you. In fact, it's a really great, even prescription in life. If our life is about us, then we become apathetic to the needs, the desires, the frustrations, the dreams of people around us. We become apathetic, like, well, like, I don't really care. Or even worse yet, you don't really care, but you see them as a road to your next rank, or your next commission check, or your next bonus. And then it's just usury. It's just commission breath. And most people are going to see through that as well. So I believe in adopting spiritual practices. I believe in doing the dark and lonely work to really investigate. Why don't I care about that person? Why am I not engaged? Why am I not present in this conversation right now? Why am I just wanting to get to the point, to rush them, instead of taking a moment to honor them? You want supernatural influence? Pay attention. Be engaged. Be present. Now, where are my ADD people at? Well, anybody got ADD on this line? No, just me? Okay. So, with an ADD person, our brains, this is not a joke. ADD is very real. I'm not ADHD, I'm ADD, like clinically. Our brains are wired differently. They are. And so for ADD people, I get it. Like, There are times if I'm so tunnel focused, like let's say right now, like I'm working on a training, I got all my notes, I'm doing the investigation, I have 14 browsers open on my internet, like I got a lot going on, I got messages going, I got prospecting going. That's a typical ADD brain. And then all of a sudden Tony comes in off of a call, my husband, and he wants to tell me about this important conference call that he just had at work. And so he's talking to me, and in my brain, like if you could see the little like words in bubbles next to my head, it'd be like, does he not know I'm working right now? Did he not see that I'm in a project? Is this important? Should I be writing this down? Do I have to remember this later? Act like you're paying attention. Focus. Like then I'm like, I'm seriously in my own other world. Only ADD people understand it. And it's not because we're insanely apathetic. It's a fact of like, it's just our brains are wired very differently. So we have to kind of balance, like, is it the fact that you really have some issues, or is it the fact that cognitively you need to retrain yourself and then create expectations with people around you? Okay. So like there's times where I'm like, hey, I had to go back to him. Hey, babe, when you came in and you were telling me stuff, I was so in the zone and I really didn't honor you because I just couldn't. I was about to get on this call with Christine's team and I had to be prepared, and all I could think about was the message I was going to deliver. And I want to give you all of me. I want to hear about this. I really do care. Can we go over it over dinner? That helps. So, are you apathetic or are you just ADD? But apathy is something to conquer. You got to care. See, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. They'll forget what you said and did, but they'll never forget the way you make them feel. So imagine, guys, like, so Mary, like, let's say we set up a coaching call and we're doing a call together, and every 20 seconds, I'm looking down on my phone while we're talking. Yep. Right? Would you feel heard? Would you feel seen? Would you feel appreciated? Would you feel that you were listened to? You would feel like, well, she doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about me. So if we want that supernatural influence, we've got to break through. Another thing reason why we don't dig deeper is that we're overconfident. Overconfident in our ability to prospect, overconfident in our ability to communicate the products, the services, the opportunity, the timing, the team, the culture, whatever. Overconfident and feel like we've got enough details that we figured them all out. How many of you guys hate it when you have somebody in your life that thinks they know what you think, thinks that they know what you want, and they make decisions based on, well, I know exactly what Candace wants. Hey, Erica, Erica's going to get the salmon niçoise salad. She always gets that. And you're like, excuse me, sir, I wanted eggs Benedict today, right? Like, so this is like, don't you hate that? It's the assumptive mentality. And that's because we are overconfident. You gotta kind of check your ego with your bank account and see which one weighs more. We don't ask questions because we're insecure. We don't want to know. We don't want to hear. We don't want to push forward. Like, oh, if I really ask them these questions, and then what if I don't know how to respond? What if I don't have the answers? Here's the thing. You're not going to have all the answers, especially if you're new. And your new teamies that you're recruiting, you must set the proper expectations. You won't know everything. There's a learning curve to this. Welcome to the jungle, babe. Like, this is going to be 30 days of studying these products and the business, and a lifetime of learning great skills if you want to become world class. The good news is there's somebody that has the answer. The good news is we can ask questions, and then a prospect lobs us, tennis balls us back something. We're like, can we take this product if they're pregnant or nursing? Like, you're going to get something like that. The good news is there's somebody that has the answers. There's a PDF, there's a form, there's a Google. Google has the answers. It's great. Another reason is just ignorance. It's like, I think people just don't dig deeper because they don't think they should dig deeper. They just don't know. They don't know to ask questions. They don't know to study this. They don't know to become a great conversationalist and how that could possibly lead to, greater influence and greater results. I think Tony's given me many compliments in our life. We've been, dating together now 18 months, married for almost a year. And it was so cute. A couple of months ago, we took my sister-in-law and Tony's nephew, not the sister-in-law's son, but anyways. So we took them out, we went golfing. So the nephew's like 8 years old. He's with Tony in a cart and I'm with his sister in a cart. And I don't know that I'm doing this, right? But I'm asking questions. I'm digging in, I'm probing. I want to know more. She just started a job. I want to know more. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? If you could change anything about the job, what would you change? What's been your greatest struggle so far? Have you had what's in your weirdest situation? She was doing home health care. So I'm like, whoa, what was the craziest house you ever went into, right? Was there a time so far that you had to deal with like an emergency, you didn't know what to do? You're a brand new nurse in home health care. They just throw you in. Good luck. Here, go do a trach. Good luck. Don't hurt the person. Like, was there ever a situation? And it was so cute because later Tony's like, I heard you in the cart behind us really asking my sister so many questions. And I love that because I know he's like, she looks up to you. She really loves you. And I just know you're so genuinely interested in her. And I'm like, it's just what I do. I can't even imagine that. And then I have other family members, that it's appalling. We get on Zoom calls and they want something, inevitably, often money. And they don't ask one single question about me, my life, Tony, my business, my dogs, my travel, my passions, my ministry, like nothing. My podcast, they don't ask anything. They're so self-serving. Who wants to be around somebody who doesn't do that table back and forth? Become a person that they're like, if you speak very little in the conversation, that's how you know you did a good job. There are conversations, I bet you there are first dates that have been had. And prospecting is a lot like a first date, which is why I kind of use this example, where a woman or a man has left a first date. They didn't ask one question, but the opposite person asked them questions nonstop. And they leave that experience and they're like, wow, that was a great conversation. They didn't ask one thing, but they got to talk about themselves the whole time. Guys, write this down. Everybody's favorite subject is themselves. You want to make people feel like $1 million after they leave you? Ask them a bunch of questions. And then balance it without being interrogative. So number 1 is ask better questions and you want to feel open-ended. Number 2 is dig deeper and why don't we? And then number 3 is silence. Silence is a phenomenal thing to use in the art of persuasion and in communication. Is to ask a question and then just shut your yap. Silence is a great tool that people are typically so uncomfortable with, they will continue to expound. It's like, yeah, so tell me more about that. And they'll just keep going. I remember I was telling Tony recently, I went, the first New Year's Eve, I was single. I was on a social media break. I took 8 days off social media. Highly recommended. I did it between Christmas and New Year's. It was so great. And so I did a fast and no social media. But it was New Year's and I'm all alone and I'm single. And heck, if I'm going to stay at home for the 6th straight day with no communication to the outside world besides phone calls and ring in the new year. This is 2018. So what do? I go to my favorite bar alone on New Year's Eve. I sit at the bar and I'm a total introvert, guys. I was sweating. It's and lucky enough, after just maybe 45 minutes, a single woman, older woman, sat next to me right on the same side of the bar. We ordered food, had drinks, and we just kind of talked. And she didn't ask, I don't think we asked me one question. I just asked her questions for 2 hours. And then a little before the ball drop, I went home, drove home, and called it a night. And I remember sending a picture to my mom, I did it. I went outside like a big girl. I did it all by myself. But it's I literally learned this woman's story, her whole life story. I can tell about her ex-husband, her grown children, why the marriage failed, how she hasn't gotten back into dating because she had some really weird experiences with online dating, and just a bunch of creeps that were on there, And I learned I learned about her job, I learned about her hobbies. Now, if you're wanting to know what questions to ask, write this down, and it's a completely other training topic. It's called FORM, Family, Occupation, Recreation, Motivation. Like, what do you do for a living? How long have you done that? What do you love about it? What don't you love about it? Do you see yourself there forever? How'd you get started in it? What projects are you working on right now? What is most exciting in your life right now? It's kind of a way to find their motivations, like their passions. So you ask about their family. Do you have any kids? Are you married? Where are you from? Did you grow up there? How'd you end up there? If somebody I got to learn recently about Christine, I was like, this woman speaks multiple languages. She lived in Europe. Here I am, I'm like, oh, she's South African living in Australia. And I'm like, oh, no, there's this tremendous offshoot to the story. You get to learn more about that. How the heck did you end up there? How did you learn that language, right? So you kind of keep pulling on. Also ask people about their recreation. Like, what do you do for fun? Just those are the natural conversations. What would you do more of if you had free time? These are great questions to ask. Their motivation. What's your passion? If money wasn't an option, it wasn't a problem, what would you be doing? Would you be working there? No, man, I'd be starting. My passion is really orphanages. I'd be working in orphanages. I'd be building them up. I'd be supporting them. Or no, my passion is farming. I'd buy a farm. I'd farm all day long. I love everything about gardening and vegetables and things. I don't know. Do you have any cool vacations planned up? Have you traveled much during the pandemic? Where's the first place you're going to go to when this opens up? Questions like that. Just curiously finding more about them. You want to see if they're interested in your mission. And then number 4, if we want to be a great conversationalist, don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. This is the hardest for me because my brain, don't interrupt. It's just natural. We just want to talk. We're so excited. Again, it's the ego set. It's like, we're so excited to share what we think about something. Like, oh, okay, Melinda, you said this and this and this. Let me tell you about something else. If we can do this, guys, and you ask better questions, if you dig deeper, I'd love to hear this week. I'd love to hear the next 7 days. I want you guys to message me and say, what did this change for you? I want you guys to try this out on your spouse. I want you to try it on a date night this weekend. I want you to ask your husband or boyfriend or fiance or whoever, girlfriend, whatever, whoever your spouse is, your loved one, or your kid. If you're going out with your spouse this weekend, pretend like it's your first date. What kind of questions? How deep? Remember when you're like, I hang on every word he says. Oh my gosh, he's just so enlightened and smart and handsome. What would happen? If it's a little awkward for you, just take a shot first. No, I'm joking. Just pray first. But seriously, what could change in your life if you do this? So I'm going to stop it right there. I want to open up for any questions answered about communication, about conversation, about prospecting, about closing, anything about this in particular.